there are specifically 7 parables in the Lotus Sutra. We mentioned a couple of them that were similar to stories in the Bible. They're actually good stories to contemplate on. The word parable, it's not merely stories, but warnings or koans. Like we were talking about how Zen masters, smack you over the head. That kind of a clearing of mind. Parables work in that same fashion. So these are really powerful stories we can actually absorb and contemplate throughout the day. It talks about the burning house. It's about how there are these kids playing in a burning house, and their father comes home. The father sees that the house is actually on fire. He tries to get the kids out of the house, and the kids are too busy, playing with their toys in the house. They refuse to. So finally the dad has to say, well, come out, I've got better toys out here. In fact, I've got, at that particular time, I guess, it would be a really wonderful toy to have a sheep cart or an ox cart. But nowadays, I don't know what they might be. Probably some type of
Guitar Hero or something.
Right, some saxophone for you, I guess. So he would have to entice them with that. So finally, they came out of the house. But actually, the dad didn't have those toys. The second one is the prodigal son. That's very familiar.
Yeah.
It's the exact same story. The third one is on the sermon at the seas, by the seas. In this particular parallel, the rain comes down on different types of vegetation, and depending on the vegetation, they absorb a different amount of rain, while the soil absorbs all of the rain. Fourth one is about a transformation city. So this is about a group of people traveling on a trip. Halfway there, they're really tired. And so the leader of the band then decides that he creates a mirage. That's where he says that, well, that's the destination. That's it. But that's actually a transformation. They're only halfway there. So after they stay there and rest a while, they realize that it's merely a mirage, and they still have halfway to go. But by that time, they are better prepared for the rest of the journey. The fifth one is about there's a pearl sewn into the lining of our jacket in every one of us.
What does that mean? Is that like wisdom or something?
Yeah, absolutely. Wisdom and compassion are Buddha nature. Yeah, that's like the bright shining pearl that every one of us have, but we don't realize that it's in the lining of our jacket. So a lot of people go around, complaining how poor they are, not realizing that they actually have a treasure trove right on them, but they never discover it.
That's really cool. I like that one. That's my favorite one so far.
Yeah, okay. Happy conduct. Happy practices, but what particular type of things reap reward, and what particular type of things reap punishment. The seventh one is about how the good doctor informs someone about death and then revives them. This is the entire Lotus Sutra and the parables contained in them.
So is this, it just has 7? There's no more or less?
Right.
That is really cool. So did the Bible copy the Lotus Sutra, or did the Lotus Sutra copy the Bible?
I don't know. Yeah. Well, let me say first that there are 7 parables. This is the most common idea. There are some people who add actually a couple more to them.
Okay.
And so, it's possible to hear a couple more, about 9 or so parables to the Lotus Sutra. But the most common theory is that there are 7, and whether it's the Bible copy the Lotus or the Lotus copy the Bible, I don't think it matters. I think what it matters is that it's the essence and the principles in these stories that are so universal that really they appear in so many different wisdom traditions. I've only compared the Lotus Sutra with the Bible, but we can also draw some parallels between, the Islamic religion and these traditions. I think there's also the story of the prodigal son in the Islamic tradition.
What about Hindu? Do they have similar parables?
I'm sure there must be. I mean, these just seems, perhaps they're, embedded in our collective consciousness and just part of the principles of this particular world system.
You sound like Joseph Campbell.
I wish I could sound like him.
Sort of like this myth that we all kind of carry within us, and it comes out in different religions, sort of thing.
I think that it could be carried one step further. Okay, I'm really just stepping out there because it's completely my own theorizing. I mean, I certainly don't have any proof for it, and I'm sure that I've read it in the text, but to compare it to Joseph Campbell, I haven't had the Buddha say those exact words. So, at a certain level of consciousness, there's no thought. Where we're at the level of collective consciousness, there are still thought.
Right.
It's a very different kind of thought, and it's also a very expansive thought that links everyone, which is the beauty of it. But I believe that at another level, there is a no thought that also connects all of us. To actually stop at the level of collective consciousness, I think, is not ultimate. Don't tell fans of Joseph Campbell that I said this. Michael and Justine Toms, they're the hosts and producers of New Dimensions. I don't know if you've heard of the radio program, but they interview a lot of different individuals on kind of the sometimes New Age, sometimes spiritual, sometimes religious gurus. And one of the favorites of Michael Toms was Joseph Campbell. I had a chance, to meet and interview Michael and Justine Toms, and I would hear the admiration in Michael Toms, and I know that Joseph Campbell, is someone that I and many others can appreciate. After learning about the Buddhist teaching, I realized, though, that there is even more profound wisdom.
It's cool.
Oh, thank you.
I dig what you're saying.